If I make it through this introduction without bursting into hysterical laughter, it's going... yes, moving swiftly on, we have a new range of Sage rods. Well, they're not so new, are they, Jim? I mean, there's some favourites.
Yeah, absolutely.
But JT's got arguably the nicest little river rod you've ever seen in your life, and it's my favourite. I've got it, and I make excuses to take it fishing. So, without further ado, it's over to Jim, it's over to JT. Take it away.
Thank you, Charles.
Thank you. Hello again, Jim.
Hi, JT. It's so as Charles touched on, we're going to be talking about the dart, the LL, and also the igniter, and these are some of the rods in Sage's speciality range. Speciality range, pretty much these are rods that have been designed for a very specific purpose in fly fishing. The first rod that we're going to be casting is the Sage Dart. This is Sage's ultra-light line series of rods. And what's unique about this rod is the action. It's reasonably fast actioned. So me and JT are going to put it through its paces. Now you'd expect any rod of this ilk to be very good at short range. As you'd expect, the rod has been designed for smaller rivers or simply ultimate delicacy on more normal sized rivers. So as you would expect, a rod like this has got to perform well at the 5 to 10 feet because invariably that's the length of line, and you really want to be feeling that cast at them length of line.
I mean, the first thing you notice about it straight away, apart from how incredibly thin the blank is, I mean, it's ridiculously thin, and how light it is just how much power, even at a short range, that rod has. I mean, that's a relatively long little bit of leader on there, and a very short range of line, and it's popping out with no issues whatsoever. Your little streams where you're down in under canopies and things, easy peasy.
That's right. I mean, we were talking about it earlier, weren't we? And I mean, if there's a failing of some of these rods, not the dart, but these ultra light line rods, is that they can be a little bit soft by the nature. And for me anyway, I mean, I'm way more of a salmon fisher, but the trout fishing I do, and in some of these small streams, frankly, it's some of the hardest casting I'll have to do.
Yeah.
I mean, we mentioned it last year on the video for the Sage Dart, but I mean, you can be in a corridor of trees. I mean, it's
threading a needle.
Absolutely. I mean, you may only have a small window in which to put a back cast through. Side casting needs lots of line speed, and it does. It feels like every branch has got a little hand on that wants to grab that fly line.
It still flexes.
Absolutely, which helps it at them ranges.
And protecting your light
Short
tippets
range.
as well.
Yeah, good point.
Ordinarily you expect a little river rod to flex the handle, as you say, because it's all tiny stuff with a short amount of line. But with this, even at that range, into a wind, and it is gusting a bit. Still straight in. I mean, I can't have more than a rod's length of line there.
No.
And we're still punching
still
straight
making
in.
nice loops off it, aren't you? And still feeling the line.
Still
down
feeling
to the
it.
hand.
And that was at such a short range, so again, we've spoken about it before. First thing people do, little tiny 3/8 rod, they pull all the line off. And you say, well, how big's your bit of river? And it's normally no wider than this platform. But you know, at that sort of range into a wind, that's just absolutely beautiful. Nice tight loops.
And again, I like your style there. Is you're coming nicely right over that rod tip. It's a skill that a lot of people don't seem to have, and of course the advantage of being able to do that is that you're lifting that fly so much higher, aren't you? Again, in that small stream environment, a cast that's angled slightly to the side, obviously the fly's travelling a lot lower. But I always feel a rod that's got that little bit of crispness in the action facilitates that.
No, it's an absolute, it's just, as Charles says, it's a dream to use, but what amazes me is the amount of line speed you can produce from it. No hauling, just purely the flex and the recovery of the rod. Just fires this line out so fast.
Yeah.
And you know, say we've probably got about 10-foot leader on here.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have any qualms of maybe even fishing 16-foot leader
No.
on a little rod like this, which you ordinarily probably never think about.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't worry about this not turning it over.
No.
You know, I think it always would do.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've used like clink and dink setups on it even, and you know, the bigger clink hammers, and it seems to turn over quite well, especially in conjunction with the line that's on it, the Crete line.
Which is, it's lovely. So it's only probably the second time I've cast the creek.
Right.
And it, as you say, match made in heaven with this. Relatively short, plenty of weight at the, you know, get that rod loading at a short range. But it's just a joy, you know. I don't get enough opportunity to warrant needing a little rod like this. You know, I've got a little 7'3" weight that sees the light of day once every 5 years.
Yeah.
As Charles says, I think if I had one of these in my armoury, I would make more of an excuse to use it.
Yeah.
Even on some of the slightly bigger waters where I didn't necessarily need it.
Yeah.
Just for the fun of how lovely it is to fish with.
Yeah. And would you agree? I mean, that there's a lot of ultra short, ultra light line rods out there. I've cast a few of them, and they are great when conditions are perfect.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and I'll say it's wrong to say it about other companies, but like the Sage Circa as an example, a beautiful rod. But I'll be honest, when that wind whipped up, you got punished for it. Absolutely, you know, it was so difficult to cast into that. Whereas this, the Dart, deals with some kind of breeze anyway.
Yeah, it's you know, it turns over and punches very nicely. You know, surprisingly well. And I think stereotype of a 7'6" rod would be that soft rod that bends all the way through. Yeah. But it's the lightning fast recovery from the Kinetic HD that just it's not what you expect.
No.
But it's a joy to use.
Nice.
It is a joy to use.
Okay, so as said, the line that I've put with this, which is what Sage would recommend as well, is the Rio Crete Line. It's very much a front-loaded head to assist in that turnover, whether it be more air-resistant dries or, like you said, longer leaders for more delicate presentation. Would you like the little spay cast? It's nice at them ranges with that, isn't it?
You know, if you're on a small piece of river and you just need to roll that, you know, that's a short length of line there, but it's very happy with that. It's a little single spay.
That's it.
Pop that in under a tree, just tighten the loop.
Nice.
You know, it's doing that and loading the rod even at this short range, very easy. You can just pop that in under a tree, slightly to the side, right in under an overhanging branch. Just bring it round, flatten it off, coming sideways. You're only staying that far off the water. Low hanging branch, poof, lovely. That's beautiful. Really, really nice piece of kit.
Nice.
Like that. Okay. What's next then, Jim?
Yeah, so we will go with the Trout LL.
And it does it really lovely with that little Sage click. You know, it does exactly what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
It's, you know, a very simple spring and pull, click drag, but super lightweight, but a nice large arbor. You know, what they are, about 2.4 ounces or something ridiculous like that.
I think pretty much on the
it's
money
just
there.
lovely. Simple drag on the back there. Not that you're going to need a drag on a little rod like this.
Yeah.
But just balances. Perfect. Love it.
Nice.
Right, pop this one on the side.
So the next rod in the speciality series is the Trout LL. This is a new version on an older model, and you know, it's in the speciality series. This is a rod that's been made with the dry fly fisher in mind. So a lot of the attributes that the Dart has got, in so much as loading up at short range. You know, because ultimately we're going to be keeping within that 20 to 25 feet of fly line out of the rod tip. I'll hand it over to.
Thank you.
Yourself, right?
9 for 5. Is this the technical trout?
That's right, yeah. Yep. Technical trout on this. Quite a long head, really.
It's a very long head, but I know that when they designed it for a lot of those larger rivers where they're wanting to throw men's in.
That's right.
So you need the longer head.
Right.
because of course you can't mend running line in the same way you can as run them, you know,
with a thin shooting line
yeah.
at the back. So yeah, I mean, I think dry fly action's quite an interesting thing in itself. It's you know, I mean, what's your slant on that? I mean, for me, like I say, it needs the attributes. It needs to be good at the short range.
Yeah.
Again, we talked about high stops with the R8. And the thing I like about this, you know, it's an easy loading midsection. So it is good for short range, roll cast, roll pickups, and your spay cast.
Very
it's
easy.
Smooth, isn't it? You really feel that down into the hand, really. But at the same time, for pinging loops right off the tip, for the same situations as we said in the dart, pretty smooth there.
Very nice.
The good thing, again, the technical trout, this seems a match made in heaven really for the rod. It is a long head, but it has got a nice long rear taper for stability, and a super long forward taper, obviously, for more delicate presentation.
Yeah, I mean, before this line came out, I remember when the original Rio LTs came out, I was using an LT, and I just wanted something, particularly for places like Bosnia, where I wanted to do a lot of mending, and there was a lot of downstream dry fly.
Okay.
So I switched to the gold, which ordinarily a gold and a 3-weight, you'd think it's 49-foot head. What do you need that for?
Yeah.
But actually, when you know, if you're doing those high dump casts and letting it drift down either downstream of you or a long dead drift to the side, having that long head and the ability to throw a couple of mends in makes that dead drift, you know, you can get 30, 40, 50 feet with a long enough rod and a long enough head and the right presentation to get that fish to come up and take a fly. Whereas if you're trying to come from behind and throw it upstream when you've got too many convoluted currents, just takes a little bit of micro drag there, and that fish comes up, tips up and goes, that's not right, it's just not right. So throwing it high, dumping it, throwing a mend in, that longer head just allows you to do that. So I'm quite a big fan of, even just on my river stuff, having that longer head that you ordinarily think this is a still water line.
Yeah,
so that's
a nice angle with a downstream dry fly, actually.
It's something that we don't do anywhere near enough in the UK, because it's all very much, you know, upstream only. Whereas some of your trickiest fish, just, you know, coming upstream of him, throwing that rod high, stopping it, dropping it, and then letting the line go downstream with it, gives you the cleanest, crispest of presentation.
No, I've seen it in, you know, in the north, you know, hard fish waters. They kind of know what they're looking for.
Indeed, don't they? And just that stop, bring it out, let that go down, and then lower that, let the current take you down with it. And it's a lovely way of fishing.
Nice.
I mean, you've just got to give them that little bit longer when they come up to take the fly, to make sure they're back down before, otherwise you're pulling it out of the mouth. So it's you know, ordinarily you see it come up and you're pretty quick on it with an upstream presentation. Downstream you just got to give that a little bit longer. But yeah, I love a bit of that, you know. And it's, you say we don't do it enough in the UK, but say in Bosnia, particularly because they're fast waters, you know, a lot of places, Poland, Czech Republic, fast waters, lots of convoluted currents. That downstream dry is the difference between you getting a fish to come up and confidently take it, or come up, refuse, and sit back on its lie, and that's it. It's a lovely way of doing it. But no, it on this rod with this length ahead, it's beautiful.
It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crisp, but you know, it's flexing, but you've got really, really good loop control.
That tip recovers quick, doesn't it?
It does, surprisingly.
For an easy loading mid, the tip really kicks in, doesn't it?
You know, as you say, it does flex, but you know,
Sweet.
I do like that. Yeah,
and again with the mends and the curves, the tip's sufficiently, you know, you can direct that tip easy enough.
It's because it's staying there. It's not, you're not getting that bounce, and it's throwing an extra half mend in for you. It's just, you know, come to your target, out and back again. You've just got that extra bit of, you know, the slack line casts for the bit of faster current between you and your target. Lovely and straight, so exactly where I wanted the fly to be, but I've just thrown that mending on the way through. Really, really nice for that. Really pretty.
Brilliant.
Like that. Next up, Jim.
One of your favourites, as I understand it.
Or was it the Igniter by any chance?
It is indeed.
This is absolutely one of my favourite rods. It suits my casting. it's everything that I like in a rod. It was all the bits from the Method that I liked, all the bits from the Sage 1 that I liked, put together. And you know, it's not just a technical casting rod. I mean, it'll cast to the horizon, but it's a great fishing rod. And again, it's that term we've been using, saying every rod should be a great fishing rod. Whereas
Absolutely.
in years gone by, we looked at rods as being, it's a great casting tool, or it's a great fishing rod.
Yeah.
You want a great fishing rod that's a casting tool and a fishing rod and does the whole package. And for me, I love the igniter. It suits my casting. I'll pop this one on the side and we'll be back in just a second.
Yeah, so as JT was saying, you know, I mean, it's or touching on, this is Sage's like ultra fast action rod. Situations that, you know, a rod like this would really do well in. It's pretty much days like today,
Yeah.
right? You know, I mean, it's a windy day, we're on still water. We need that action now, especially to, you know, to drive through winds such as what we've got. But that said, again, you know, I mean, like we found with the other rods, even at short ranges, you know, barely, you know, 20 feet of line, we can still make, there's still enough feel to make the casts even at this range. And it's like you was touching on just there, you know, how these fast action rods have really changed so much now, that they're that bit more versatile.
Yeah.
and a lot more user friendly. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think that was, you know, when this came out, because it was the rod that took over from the Method, took over from the TCX, took over from the TCR, it was always seen as that rod that you could only use if you were an advanced good caster. And Joe Blogs,
Technical casting rod, right?
Joe Blogs couldn't pick it up and make it work.
No.
Actually, when people get this rod in their hand and they see that it's an incredibly fast recovering rod, but all you need to do is have a smooth stroke, flex the rod, define that stop.
Do you not think a good rod's a good rod? Like, I mean, I'm maybe I should, I'll say it. I mean, I actually teach quite, not all the time, but I teach quite often with this rod.
I've taught with the rod here. You know, it's if you just get even a beginner to put across the basics of the fundamentals of a cast, you know, a smooth acceleration to continually, gradually flex this rod deeper throughout the stroke. You filled it full of all the energy. You get to the end and you stop. Remember, this rod doesn't want to be flexed. It wants to be straight. As soon as you get to the end of that stroke, it wants to go back to straight. Define the stop, let it recover to straight. It does the work for you. You know, you end up putting in very little effort, and the less you put into it, the more you get out of it. You know, if you try and bully it, it doesn't like it.
Absolutely. It turns then into something like a pill cue.
Yeah, you want it to be smooth. No effort at all.
Nice.
No hauling, no nothing. It's gone. You know, and then equally, as you say, with a shorter range of casts, if you need to, it'll do that. Your mid-range, you're stepping up to say 40 feet. Again, it's got the guts there. And then when you say, right, I'm using a lighter rod on a small still water because I want to have some fun, then, or a windy day, it'll aerialise that a little bit more line. You bring the double haul in, and all of a sudden you're popping yourself out 70, 80 feet without really batting an eyelid. And it's not because you've got loads of extra power coming from your rod hand. You've just flexed this, stopped and let it recover, and you get that catapult effect. And trying to get, you know, especially we speak about it time and time again about men casting, and they think the harder you hit it, the better you go. Just let this do the work for you. Just let it do the work. I
totally agree.
Just find this a joy to use.
Is it the 6 weight that you use?
I like the 5 weight. Dare I say it, I've not really found any of them that I haven't really just gone, I love it. You know, even down to sort of the lighter of the rods. You say you don't have to be a technical caster. You know, that's the thing.
No, I actually think casting rods like this are a lot easier than rods that bend so much more.
Just let
I think
it do
it's
the
almost
work.
a fallacy actually that soft rods are easier to cast. The only thing that's easy is feeling in bend. Everything else, like straight line paths, stopping, faster rods make that easy as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, you can create such a huge amount of line speed through doing absolutely nothing.
Exactly.
I mean, no haul, just a smooth stroke. And it's just, you know, we all talk about it. a smooth acceleration to a stop. It's not about powering it and smacking the granny out of it. It's just about letting the, you know, they've spent years developing this, so you don't have to put all the effort into it.
Nice way
you know,
of putting
and
it.
you should come back from a day's fishing and feel like you've been out relaxing,
Sweet,
not
mate.
out
Nice.
exhausting yourself.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
this is something that we've done all our lives to get enjoyment out of it and relax and forget about the troubles of everything else. I don't want to go home, fall into the sofa exhausted, and this allows me to do that and get great end results. Just suits me.
Nice
I love
and
it.
put, mate.
I love it. I've had a great day today. Really
Yeah, me too,
enjoyed
actually.
casting these rods, Jim, and
Yeah.
bouncing off each other.
Yeah.
We hope you've all enjoyed it. Whether you're buying a Sage, a Scott, a Mackenzie, any of the rods that are out there, the one thing that we can all say, and we probably all agree on, regardless of what brand we're from or what we prefer, come along, get one in your hand and test it. One man's meat is another man's poison. You know, you'll like some, you won't like others, but the only way to do it is to come along and test drive it. You wouldn't think about buying a car without jumping behind the wheel first. Don't do it with a fly rod, because you're going to stick with it for a long time, especially if you're paying a lot of money for it. So come along, have a go, speak to somebody like Jim, myself, the rest of the crew here. We'll try and give you the best advice we can. Hope you really enjoyed the live sessions today. That's it for us for now. Stay tuned, more to come today and tomorrow. Thanks very much, guys. Take care.
Thank you.